It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
I knew that I needed a good head start to get up those stairs because we'd come down a few.
I think it was just because you needed some space.
But I did need some space.
Because as you walked away, you're like, I can't believe we had to come all the way here to listen to these kids fight. We could have done that at home.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson, the founder of happyfamilies.com.au and the author of a bunch of books about making your family happy. I'm here with Kylie, mum to our 6 kids, and Mother's Day, 2 days away. We are crossing our fingers that this Mother's Day we don't flood the bath and have the rumpus room ceiling fall in on top of us.
Well, we're living in a single-story building, so that's not possible.
I don't think it's going to happen this time.
I'm hoping that you might be a little bit less adventurous this year, and maybe just a bunch of flowers and some chocolates would be a great start for Mother's Day.
Yeah, and I've just realised I'm going to have to do something about it today. I haven't even sent anything to my mum, and it's Mother's Day. There's a lot going on. We're a little bit, I don't know what the word is, Kylie. Like, things aren't quite where they're supposed to be. We moved out of our house, what's it been, like 2 weeks ago? We're still in and out of Airbnbs. We get the keys to our house in another week and a half. Feeling a bit, what's the word, like out of sorts, like discombobulated? That's a word?
I want to say there must be a study out there to kind of put this all into perspective, but I feel like we've come so far and we've done so well for so long.
Yeah.
And now there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We know we've only got a few more weeks, and I feel like we're coming apart at the seams.
It's been a full 4 months that we haven't been living in what you would call normal circumstances. And the next couple of weeks can't happen fast enough, kind of in limbo. But that's not really what today's about. Although I think it'll probably tie in with a little bit. I'll Do Better Tomorrow is what we talk about every Friday. This is where we re-examine the week that was and find areas where we might do better so that we can be better parents. It's about intentional, reflective parenting. This week, I'm going to go first, if that's okay with you. I've got a nod. I've got a smile. Okay, here we go. So last week, as you recall, Kylie, I got to spend the day on, I think it was Thursday last week, with Dr. Shefali, Oprah's parenting expert. Shefali has been writing about conscious parenting for a number of years now and is globally recognised as something of a parenting superstar, blending sort of Western and Eastern philosophies. And I was emceeing her event in Brisbane, got to hang out backstage with her, and then we did a 1.5 hour Q&A together. I was running the Q&A, but as Shefali and I went through the questions, she would invite me to have a chat, and a couple of things came out as we were talking. I asked her a question based on what had come out of her keynote earlier in the day. She was talking about how we push our kids to practice, and they don't want to practice. She used this analogy or this metaphor of saying it's like we pick up the piano and we say, open wide, here it comes, and we make them swallow the piano. And it's all about practicing, and they don't want to practice, and it's not life-giving for them. And why are we making them do this stuff that they don't want to do? Why have we got all this ego involved in what they're doing? And it really resonated with a lot of people, but I also felt like I needed to ask her a question, push back a little bit against this. And I said to her when we were sharing the stage together, I said, you mentioned this thing about the piano and practice. And if the kids don't want to do it, why are we making them do it? Give them some autonomy. But here's the thing. Sometimes doing the practice, doing the hard thing, the thing we don't want to do, it's horrible in the moment. But we look back and we are glad we did it, whether it's climbing to the top of a hill or whether it's learning how to play the piano. I mean, one of my great regrets is that I haven't learned to play the piano. I gave up after a very short time in my youth, and I wish that I could play. I said, surely sometimes as a parent, we know better. We've climbed more rungs on the ladder of life, and we know that if our kids will just persist and do this hard thing that they don't want to do and that they're kicking and screaming and whinging and whining and saying, I don't want to do it, surely it's worth it sometimes. We need to be discerning. We need to make sure that it could light them up. And anyway, we had this really interesting backwards and forwards, and Shefali and I probably agreed more than we disagreed, but ultimately I've got a slightly harder line on this. So anyway, a couple of days later, I'm on the coast with you and the kids. We're all living together again. And I said to the kids, let's go down to the beach. We've got a couple of hours before dark. We'll take the surfboard. We'll take the foamy, and I'll take you surfing. You can learn to surf today. I'm gonna get you going. And Emily, our 8-year-old, just like lost the plot. So upset about it. And I said, no, you need to come with me. And as I was saying that, I was thinking, oh my goodness, is there ego? Is there any ego in this? Like, am I having my Shefali moment right now? Am I forcing my daughter to come and surf with me because it's all about me and my ego?
No, well, the reality is whether or not she surfed or not, it's not the point. She was going to be outdoors, building sandcastles, swimming in the ocean. She didn't have to surf.
Right, exactly. And apart from that, I know that if she comes out and gets on that surfboard, she's going to experience what a surfer would call pure stoke. Right? She's going to catch a wave. She's going to stand up. She's going to feel what it feels like. And she's going to be stoked because she did something hard. And I said to her, I know you don't want to do it, but this is a hard thing. And in our family, we do hard things. And I want you to get in the car. Let's go do this. Well, she screamed halfway to the beach, like literally screamed all the way in the car, like really screaming, I don't want to surf. And it was pretty hostile. It was volatile. For a minute there, I thought, what have I done? Like I've just turned into the parent that I never wanted to be. But she calmed down just before we got to the beach. We walked down the beach, dived into the water, put the leg rope on, paddled down to the waves, and I pushed onto a wave. And then I pushed onto another one. And on about the third or fourth wave, she stood up. And at that point, the look on her face, Kylie, pure stoke. And she was supposed to share the board with her two big sisters, and she wouldn't do it. She was so hooked that she just wanted to surf all afternoon and all night. She didn't want to come in as the sun was going down. I mean, it was almost dark when I finally got her in off the board. I was like, just one more. And here she is standing up in the white water and catching these little waves. And I just thought, it's so hard to get the balance right. And as parents, we've got to make sure that our ego isn't involved. But sometimes we actually do know better, and sometimes it is worth the battle. It is worth the fight because we know it's going to count. And now we've got this little surfy chick, right? I mean, she just can't get enough of it.
I wonder if part of it is as we watch children in that space, the way they respond. Do you know what I mean? Like if Emily got on there and she, even if she stood up, but there was no joy.
Oh, yeah, if she hated it, done.
Then there's obviously a disconnect from the activity. So,
right.
Even with piano, some kids hate practicing, and yet once they sit down, they kind of melt.
Yeah, they flow into it, right.
And there's just this flow.
Yeah.
And so you know that there's actually a benefit to them as opposed to just the hard-nosed, you're going to play because I played, or you're going to play because I never did.
Right, yeah. You're going to fill all of my ambitions. Yeah.
All of those kinds of things. I think it's actually, we've got to be so aware of where our kids are at and what they're feeling in those moments when they're not protesting, when they're actually participating. And I think that's a really good cue for us to work out whether or not the struggle's worth it.
Oh, so much more that we could talk about. I mean, the fact that they've got to have a bit of progress, that they can feel good about it as well. I mean, if she caught 20 waves and didn't stand up, might have been a different scenario. But she just loved it. And I thought, wow. I mean, we had our eldest daughter refused to play the piano. She wanted to play until we got her involved, and then she realised she had to practice, and she was whinging and whining and just never wanted to do it. And now she says to us, I wish you'd made me. I wish that I could play. And so for me, it's about stepping back from ego. It's not about me saying, I need you to do this to fulfill my ambitions, or because this is what it takes for me to look like a good parent, and rather making it about, I think this is going to be fulfilling for you. Let's give it a go. Let's see if you can have a positive experience with it and see where you end up. And now we've got a kid who I think, if my plans come to fruition, she's going to be a world champion. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, after the break, the I'll Do Better Tomorrow from Mrs. Happy Families. If you have more than one child, there's a simple truth. They're going to fight, they're going to compete, and they're going to have relationship troubles. But the real secret isn't how to stop the fighting. It's how to teach them kindness. The Teaching Kids Kindness webinar will help you to do just that, but also help them build lifelong sibling bonds that lead to lifelong friendships. Check out Teaching Kids Kindness at happyfamilies.com.au.
It's the Happy Families podcast, the podcast for the time poor parent who just wants answers now. And
Kylie, I want to know, reflections, intention, what's gone well this week or what hasn't? How are you going to be a better parent as a result of what you've been experiencing as a mum this past week?
Well, your story before the break flows in really nicely because it actually sets the scene for what ended up being quite a challenging Super Saturday for us all.
Yeah, right. That's where we're going. Okay.
We decided that we were going to get up nice and early and head off to Condalilla Falls. We've
Right.
talked about going there for quite a few months now since we've moved up to the Sunshine Coast, and just haven't made it there. But we woke up and it was really overcast and a bit drizzly. It wasn't pouring, but there was enough rain just to wet the ground.
Yeah, not ideal for a walk through the rainforest.
No, and you'd also preempted the fact that you were going to buy an extra foamy,
A new surfboard.
so that the kids could get out there and
Stop
do
fighting
some
over the only one that we had.
surfing. And Emily had obviously just had this amazing experience. Knows she can stand up, and she's so excited. So we decided that we'd squeeze in a trip to Condalilla Falls before the surf shop opened.
Right.
And then you could get a surfboard and then take them down to the beach.
And in my mind, that's what we were doing, right? In my mind, we're going to get the kids up early. They were all asleep and they were miserable when we woke them up. But we needed to be back to the surf shop for 9 so that we could be in the water. But what time did we get to the falls, do you reckon?
Maybe 8?
Yeah, I reckon it was close to 8:30. Like, it was somewhere in there. It was late. And I'm thinking, oh, well, we're here. So we'll walk down the little path and we'll have a look at the water going over the rocks. And after 10 or 15 minutes, we'll jump in the car and we'll head back to the coast.
If you've been following us for a little while, you might see a common theme starting to run through some of our stories.
Our Super Saturdays.
We're quite good at being spontaneous.
Yep.
We're not so good at the preparation or the background checks, maybe doing our homework to kind of check things out. So I'd spoken to a few friends. I knew what Condalilla Falls was like, and I was really excited to do it with you all. I was in my exercise gear. I had my sneakers on. I was ready to go. But as usual, there was one child who didn't bring their shoes. Another child decided she'd walk in her, ballet dress shoes.
Yeah.
You had thongs on.
We're walking through a rainforest. Okay, so and I admit I had thongs. I know. For our American friends, they're like sandally, jandly things. They're not what you're thinking. And a barefoot kid. We're walking through a rainforest, and she's got no shoes. Like leeches, people. Hello.
Anyway, the whole way there, from the time we left the house, we had cranky children, an 8-year-old who just wanted to get back out on that board.
Yep.
She's just hungry for the water.
I don't want to go for a walk. I don't want to see the waterfall. I want to go surfing.
And 2 sleepy teenagers in the back who just were not impressed that they'd been kicked out of bed and had to leave, their screens behind and all of that. So we got there and we started walking. It was beautiful. It was drizzly, a bit wet, but it's the rainforest. What do you expect?
And then 3 minutes into the walk, the 8-year-old's like, I need to go to the toilet. So we've dunked her in the stream so that she can go. It's freezing cold. Well, I just sit over there. I can't believe we did that.
And off we go on this little adventure, which turned into a much longer adventure than probably most of you had thought it was going to be. And spent the entire time listening to these whingy, whiny kids.
Yeah.
You and I were in really good spirits, and we got all the way to the lookout. So up until that point, we could hear the water running. And because there's been lots of rain, you could really hear a good water rush going. But we got halfway down these steps to the landing, and literally this waterfall came into view, and it was just so beautiful. It kind of stopped us all in our tracks. It was like, wow.
Yeah, breathtaking.
Wow, this is amazing. But I could see that there was more steps, and there was an 80-metre drop from the top of that waterfall to the bottom, and there was going to be something amazing down there because I've seen the photos.
Right.
So I was full steam ahead. I was ready to go.
And as you can tell from my voice, this is news to me. We didn't get to the bottom, and I haven't seen the photos. But it's nice down there, huh?
It's beautiful. Right. It's beautiful. So I've started to head down these stairs when Miss 8 is having a meltdown because she's looked down and she's seen there's a fair way to go.
Yep.
These stairs are steep and long.
12-year-old's like, no, I'm not going. So she's turned around and started to walk the other way. I'm going back to the car. No shoes. Had 2 leeches already.
And at this point, I'm only just warming up. I love being in the rainforest.
Yep.
It just is such beautiful space.
Yeah, you do.
And so, my energy was building and I was just pumped to kind of get to the bottom, but no one else was on the same page.
Yeah. And you've got this expectation, and when your experience doesn't match your expectation, you end up miserable.
And that's kind of where we got to. At that point, I realised this wasn't going to work. We were turning around and we were heading back to the car, and I was pretty upset.
Yeah.
At that point. So I stormed off and took the lead. Mostly because I am the slowest one in the pack, and I knew that I needed a good head start to get up those stairs because we'd come down a few.
I think it was just because you needed some space.
But I did need some space.
Because as you walked away, you're like, I can't believe we had to come all the way here to listen to these kids fight. We could have done that at home. And then you stormed off, and I'm like, all right, kids. And I'm trying my best to keep the mood light. Like, I just wanted it to be light, and it wasn't working at all.
So often as a parent, you put so much energy and effort into, even though there wasn't a huge amount of prep, it was just the acknowledgement that we were going to be able to spend this time together and do this really nice thing and explore a part of the world.
And you've got an expectation that it's going to be great.
And it just wasn't great.
So the take-home message from our awful experience, yeah, it was awful, our awful experience.
Well, it's funny, you say it was awful, but I went to have a look at the pictures to prove to my sister how awful it was, and we had these Instagram-worthy pictures.
Yes, the story.
Everybody was smiling, and if you just look at those pictures, you would have thought we had the time of our lives.
So we're going to go back and try it again, is that what you're saying?
We are. We're going to get it right.
And this time we're going to wear the right shoes. We're going to get the expectations correct. We'll take some food and water, and we won't have a shop to get to or a beach to get to after it. It's going to be the activity for the day.
Yeah, I think it might take us all day.
Okay, maybe we should do it for Mother's Day.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. The Happy Families podcast is designed to give you take-home messages to help you to make your family happier. The take-home message from me today is that sometimes it's worth pushing the kids hard to get them to do stuff that you know is valuable because they will love it, but you've got to look for that spark. And if they don't love it, get your ego out of the way and let them quit and find something that does light the spark for them. The take-home message from Kylie today is...
leave the kids in bed and go and explore on your own.
I can't believe you said that. The take-home message from Kylie is do the prep and make sure expectations are aligned.
Don't have any expectations. Is that what it is? Don't have any expectations, mums?
Last week with Dr Shefali, somebody asked a question. The question was, I get triggered by noise and I've got 3 kids under 5. How do I stop the noise, or how do I stop myself getting triggered by the noise? And Shefali just looks at the question. She was like, you've got 3 kids under 5. Like, you can't do anything about this at all. Like, hello, what are you... That's kids.
Normally this kind of stuff wouldn't bother me as much. I feel like I said, we're just in this little smouldering pot at the moment, and I feel like we're all sinking.
Yeah, it's been a 4-month marathon, and like I said, 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks and the furniture truck rolls up, and we get into our own house, and then we've got to unpack it. But it's fine. We'll be in our own house. We hope that you've enjoyed today's I'll Do Better Tomorrow. A little bit longer than normal, but a couple of stories that I hope have inspired you to better parenting. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media, with Craig Bruce as our executive producer. If you'd like more info about making your family happier, please visit us at happyfamilies.com.au and have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day.